Hello and welcome to SGN Tech Forum. Today in this video I'm going to show you how to do a kernel compilation for a Linux or Unix uh, source code, and this is a follow-up video on CentOS install. So if you have watched my earlier video, we have done a CentOS install on a Intel Nuke or a physical machine. Now from there what we are going to do, we are going to pick up a source code and try to compile it and then boot our PC or system with the new kernel code or the new ISO image. Alright, so what we are going to do here, we are going to do in 3 steps. First is some pre-checks. That means we will do some baselining that will give us confidence where we are, what are the options available in our base OS. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to install some uh, development tools. This is necessary for you if you're doing a kernel level kernel compilation. So necessary tools are development tool and curses, because I'm going to use make config and OpenSSL devel. Alright, so these are the prerequisite. Then I'm going to get a kernel source code. It can be anything. This is just for a demonstration purpose, right? Then download it, unzip it, and then very simple, you just have to say make menu config. Okay, so make menu config utility will open the kernel in UI, and from there you can select the options or the modules you want in your new OS image. Watch the video, that will make things clear. I have not put any screenshots here, but while you will do the practical, you can see yourself, right? After you do that, save that as a .config file. You may have to edit .config if you are installing it on a physical machine. Like some packages will give you error and you can try to disable it. In my case, I with this source code, I ran into one or two incompatible modules which I need to disable. So you essentially go to .config file and just comment out the things which are blocking your compilation. Finally, make RPM package. So this will start the compilation and it will take some time. At least in my case, it is taking 90 minutes to 110 or 120 minutes. So roughly 2 hours. Once you have this installed, you will get that the RPM build are available. And finally, what you have to do, you have to go to those RPM build and do a sudo yum local install, and whatever the RPM, newly created RPM, there will be 3, install all of them. Alright, so now at this point of time, you have a new kernel compiled and it is available. Now you want to boot with it, right? So what you have to do, you have to change the grub config. For grub config, what you are going to do, you are going to uh, change the default. So right now, as you can see, I have 2 kernels and their index will be different. All right, so what you have to do, you have to simply set the default to the new kernel image, whatever is your new kernel. So just replace that set default with your new one, and at this point of time you are ready to reboot your PC. Then it will boot with the new kernel, and then you can see verify the options that whatever the new option you enabled in this kernel, they should be visible or available, right? So this is how we are going to compile the new kernel. I'm going to mute myself or go off from the video, and you can watch the rest of the compilation or the whole compilation process on screen. All right, thank you. Okay, so here I am. As you can see, after almost 2 hours of this kernel compilation, we now have our code compiled, and it is in this location. So let's go to that folder. All right. And now what we are going to do, we are going to do the sudo local install as we discuss, right? So I'm going to say sudo local install. Want to go ahead and install it? Yes. So we are going to install all 3 RPMs. It's taking some time. As you can see, the install size is 3.6 gig. And that's the reason we want to start with the base install, right? So even after uh, kernel compilation, your size has not grown to something which you cannot load on a decent size desktop or a workstation. So it's very important to keep your kernel not bloated so much that you cannot install it on a machine. Okay, as you can see, the first RPM is installed. Now let me go ahead and perform installation for the next RPM. Here you can see. Okay, say yes, and kernel devel is also getting installed. Let's be prepared for the third one, which is kernel header. Kernel header, yes. So if you're wondering where we are in terms of our documentation, let's go back and revisit the documentation again. So we are here, we are going to install all the kernel levels, and then we will go ahead and change the grub parameters. And finally reboot the PC and verify. All right, second package is also built. Let's go ahead and install the third one. Yes, that was quick. And now we can check if the kernel is available. All right, so I'm going to do a sudo grub info all and grabbing with kernel, and here you can see 54132 is installed. If you remember from my earlier the first half of the video, we did the same command but we didn't have 54132. Now so we have 54132. Let's check uname -r. Okay, we are running the old kernel. Let's get the information about them, right? What is the index stream? So here you can see my index is 1 for the current kernel. Okay, Let's check what is the index for the new kernel. Let me put some couple of enters here so that we have a gap. Index is 0. Right. Let's check what is the default index. Default index is the index which system will use while booting. So my default index is 0. So looks like while we were building the kernel, the after kernel compilation, it has already switched the index. So if I go ahead and reboot now, I'm going to boot with the new kernel. But to be on safe side, I want to set it, I want to hard code it. So let's check what is the default kernel here. Yes, you can see 5432, and I'm going to make it so I don't have to set it manually, but still for sake of demonstration or illustration, I'm going to show you the command. And here you can see I have set it to 54. Default is boot with index 0. All right, so this message does confirm that we are ready to reboot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reboot. I'll lose the connectivity for a couple of times since this is SSH session, and we will try to log in again. Okay. All right. So this time it should boot with new kernel. Let's allow a couple of minutes and we will revisit it again. I think I'll pause the video here, and once I have the access, SSH session access back, we will resume and do a final set of verification. So thank you for watching. All right, looks like the access is back. So let's go ahead and log in. Okay, let's verify the operating system. Perfect. It has booted with 54132, the new kernel. We have enabled, you have seen, I have enabled a couple of options, TCP networking options, which was not available in old kernel, but it should be available in newer kernel. So let's go ahead and verify that as a final set of verification. And what we are going to do is check if my new TCP options are set. All right, you can see now we have new options, LIA, OLIA, and all those available. If you rewind and look at the pre-check, we didn't have these options available. So new kernel is indeed working. All right, so here this actually concludes our video, and you have seen how to compile a kernel. The couple of options which I have to turn off or comment out, these are generally you have to live with trial and error. So it depends what kind of source code you are trying to compile, but you definitely need Ncurs, DAVL, and development tools. Based on compilation is kind of like a trial and error, especially if it is unstable code. It took me days to understand and come up with that smooth workflow. So I hope it's not too troublesome for you if you are doing some experimental compilation. And I wish you good luck. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more information or more videos. Thank you.